Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. I'm Eoin Devereux, news reporter with the Banner Press, welcoming you once again right here to NACTV and our weekly look at the newspaper of Neepawa and the surrounding area. I am joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you in here this week.
Good to be here, and we're one episode and 1 week closer to the holidays. Of course, we have gotten through to the December 16th edition of the paper, so we're halfway through December.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And this week's edition of the paper is jam-packed. It's 3 sections, 20 pages in the A section of the regular news, plus our special Christmas edition in B and C with Helen Drysdale recipes. We're going to get to that a little bit later. We put all our effort into this one because the next couple weeks, we are just going to coast. We're really just going to phone it in until Christmas.
Yeah, we've
or at least I am.
Yeah, we put in a good effort for this paper, and the next 2 papers coming up are going to be a bit of a rush. We have a very packed schedule ahead of us before the holidays to just make sure that everything's done. So,
yeah. But again, every listener, every watcher at home is going, how would we tell the difference, Owen, really, from your normal workload? Well, you got me on that one, so. But this time it's on purpose. But fortunately, we do have a lot of great information in this week's edition, and we're going to start, as you always should, with the front page. And we had a bunch of great pictures of the high school production. NACI put on its major theater production recently at the Roxy Theater, and it was a version of the musical The Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid Jr. is actually what it's called. Although, Casper, I got to admit, I don't know the answer to this, and I'm just throwing this out there, just speaking. I have no idea why it's called Little Mermaid Jr., because the original film was The Little Mermaid, and as far as I saw, I didn't stick around for all of it, but I stuck around for well over half of it. It was just a retelling of the movie. Like, where did Junior come in? I don't know.
You know, I actually don't know myself either. I guess that'd be a question we'd have to ask the major production there. But yeah, if it's sort of just like a retelling of the movie, just like as it was, why the name change? Is it just because it's like a stage production maybe with younger actors? I could see that maybe being the case.
Perhaps, or maybe they don't want to get sued by Disney. The Walt Disney Corporation owns everything nowadays. Heck, I'm a little surprised they haven't put an offer down on NACTV, all right? Because they've taken over most of media. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the lawyer said, you know what, you put a junior on it, you're fine.
Yeah.
But that's getting away from the point of the production itself and the work that they put in there. And just, it was very impressive. We were talking just before we started on air today about all the effort and all the work that they put in, the people on the stage, but also the people off the stage. I went down there and I got a bunch of pictures. You can find this great picture on page 1. And it is continued into the A section on page A10. I hope you will take a few minutes just to browse through and see some of those pictures. It was really well done for the most part. The costumes, we talked about this, Casper. The costumes were really spot on. They looked like the characters from the movie.
Yeah, they really do. Just looking at the photos there, very fantastic costumes. I'm kind of wondering if they perhaps found a place to rent from, because they really are top notch. And if they made them themselves, then oh my gosh, even better. But just absolutely incredible, and it really definitely added to a bit of an extra layer to the performance that everyone gave on just looking at the photos. All the singing and acting and dancing. All the action and expression that you can see in the photos that you took is incredible.
Well, the thing is, I did hear this after we'd gone to print, that they had to rent the costumes, but they had to be very specific with the usage of them. They couldn't change them in any way, shape, or form. You couldn't expand them to make them fit a person better. You couldn't shrink them down to sort of make... So if you were a tiny person and you had a big costume, you just had to work around that. And if you were a large person in a tiny costume, well... you had to work around that too. But fortunately, from the looks of it, they didn't have many issues with that, because costuming like that is so well done and adds to the ambiance of the production. Just before we went on air, I was talking to Casper. I was going back in time, way back to the early 90s, when I was in high school, and I was part of a theater production we did at my school for Dracula. Fortunately, it wasn't a musical, because you do not want to hear me sing. But obviously, as you can tell as well by the translucence of the forehead, as you see right now, and I was Dracula, because I've been clear. I'm a translucent individual. That's just my history. So even in the summer, but especially during the winter. So I was playing Dracula, and my costume made up of a mullet, which was the style at the time. Actually, no, it probably wasn't even the style at the time. It was probably out of style even then. Leather pants and like a waiter's little half tuxedo with the tails on there. Thank God Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter were not a thing in 1991. Otherwise, I would never, ever live that down. I mean,
that's all right. Dracula is just in his experimental phase. He's trying to find the fashion that suits him. You know, he's branching out. He's getting those feelers out there. He's finding the one that's just right for him.
And sweater vests are where it's at, I'll tell you that. I'm the finest looking individual of 2002 right now. I'll say that much. But getting back to this one, they were so talented. It was so well done. The singing was on point. The production, the movement of the sets in and out, and the backgrounds, they did a really tremendous job. High school productions, let's be honest, for the most part, usually stink. I know mine did. Looking back with hindsight, I can say that with true realism in my mindset there. But this one, it was a well-oiled machine. It ran on clockwork. I mean, the changes, the transitions. And that goes to all the people behind the scenes. As I was taking pictures, Casper, I saw the people working the main table, doing all the little, all right, this light goes up, bring this down. All right, this set comes in. It's such a intricate little production to put on. Those are the little things. The people on the stage always get the credit. And they do put in a lot of effort, but always give credit to those behind the scenes that make sure that it happens. Now that I think about it, although you can't use flash photography, we're not allowed to use flash photography while the production is on. But if we were able to, I would have probably taken a picture or two of those people in the background and sort of given them the kudos as well. Well, do it to them right now. Tremendous effort. Thank you for the time and effort, and thank everyone involved. And it was a packed house. Every single one, from what I've heard, was capacity, which is great. Great to see that support.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't always see that kind of support for things going on in Neepawa or other communities in general. It can be a difficult time getting a good audience, but everyone is really excited for this one, especially, and to see it get such good turnout is fantastic.
Well, once again, you can see those pictures. They're on, obviously, the front page of the Neepawa Banner Press and on page A10. And hopefully you were able to get out there and see it for yourself. Let's shift over. So much the spirit of giving in December, and we're seeing great examples of that right here at home. And especially, Casper, you're going to be able to walk us through this from our major business here in Neepawa, High Life. They really stepped up in a big way for our local food bank, didn't they?
Absolutely, they did. Of course, everyone knows High Life. It's a big name here. Sponsored quite a few different things here. They've given a lot of donations over the years. But the one that they did earlier this week, if you're watching the same week this episode comes out, was a bunch of food and some monetary donations, actually, to the Neepawa Community Ministry Center, or as most people know it still, the Salvation Army. And definitely a much-needed donation. High Life gathered up with all the employees working there. It was a cross-company effort. About 250 pounds of food, I believe it was. And the bonus of the monetary donations, that was an added thing this year because this is actually the second annual, I believe it was the Holiday Helpers Food Drive is what it was called. came from the fun day that was actually held earlier this year through High Life. They got $6,000 that was donated to the Salvation Army here. And that's going to mean a lot. All of that food and the monetary donations, that helps out a lot with their food bank, any other programs they have going on, paying for Christmas hampers, etc., etc. Because the Christmas hampers actually this year, Amanda Nightingale did mention for this story, they're expecting them to cost around, I believe it was $20,000 this year. So that's pretty significant.
Damn. That's going to segue as well into the next story we're going to cover here. But kudos to High Life for stepping up and seeing the need in this way. That is tremendous. If you want to learn a little bit more, and I really genuinely hope that you do want to learn a little bit more, that story as well is down the side of the front page and continues on to page A9. There's another story Casper followed up on in relation to this, and this one is it's disappointing, but at the same time, it's that the fact that there's people stepping up to help in this time of need is encouraging, but just the sheer number of people that need support in the hamper program is genuinely surprising to me, Casper.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a mixed bag getting stories like these because, as you said, it's awesome to have people being able to and willing to step up and help out in these ways and having organizations that help out. But then also, sad to see that there is that need there because that's not something that you really want to see in your community or any community that people need this help. But, circumstances are circumstances. So if we need it, it's there, and I'm glad that it is. But the Neepawa Salvation Army here, the hamper program, is going to be helping over 160 families this year. And that's pretty significant. I know Neepawa is a much larger community with thousands of people in it, but that is a large number. And 160 families, that's a lot of people. It's not just one individual, it's everyone else in the family, so it impacts a lot of people. And last year they had around 151 families. Mm-hmm. And when I spoke to Amanda on Monday, they were actually still getting calls in about the Christmas hamper. So we actually don't know what the final numbers are going to be like for this, just that it is over 160. So
it's a combination of uplifting and disheartening all at the same time. You hear about the people that step up and help out in this way, which is wonderful. But then the amount of people incrementally, even if it was just at 160 this year, Casper, compared to the 150, 151, that's in around 4%, 5% increase year over year. And now just imagine that over 5 years, over 10 years. That is so, it's eye-opening. Neepawa, we like to think of ourselves as a nice little town, nice little community, and for the most part we are. There's no community is perfect, but you think these are the types of problems that happen in Brandon. You think these are the types of problems that happen in Winnipeg, in Ottawa, Calgary, Edmonton, major metropolitan communities. You don't think it can happen here at home, but it can and it does. So that's why a couple weeks ago we were talking about the campaign and the program. If you are able to help out the Salvation Army and their hamper program year-round in any way, shape, and form, please do it. Don't even look at it as just sort of, I'm only giving one thing. Because if you give one thing, and I give one thing, Casper gives one thing, it all starts to add up. These are the things that you need to realize. Don't look at it as bigger than yourself. Don't. Just do your little bit that you can, and it'll all add up. Well, I'm going to get off my pedestal right here, right now again. I do that from time to time on this show. I'm going to talk about this story I had the opportunity to go out and cover on Friday night, on December 9th. Very glad I was able to attend this at the Beautiful Plains Medical Clinic. It wasn't wide open to the public because then you'd have way too many people in too cramped of a space, but there was a select group of people that did take the time out and go down there. Casper previewed this story in last week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press, talking about the plaque commemoration and ceremony for two very important individuals who have had a major impact on the growth, the expansion of the medical clinic. It is Dr. George Eoin, who recently retired, who was commemorated with a ceremonial plaque just right at the south entrance, and Arnie Susky, the late Arnie Susky, who was a huge part of the clinic as well. His work behind the scenes as a board member, as someone who would just pick up a hammer and pick up, just work to make this building better in any way, shape, or form. It was very important. These two men helped to push the medical clinic to where it is. They did it in different ways, but both in significant, important ways. Their dedication towards local healthcare in these different ways shouldn't be forgotten, and I'm very glad to see that it won't be forgotten. You can find that story on page 2. Anytime I've had a chance to speak with Dr. Eoin, I've learned a little something and always been appreciative of it. Any actions and interactions I've had with Arnie were always tremendous. He was a stand-up guy. He was just a straight shooter, but a stand-up good guy who'd be the first one to step up when the work needed to get done. And it's great to see these two individuals getting that type of attention. So that's mine. Unless there's anything else you want to throw out there yourself there, Casper. So.
No, not much. You covered this story very well. And I think in general, everyone at the medical clinic and in the wider community is going to be very proud and very happy to have both those individuals commemorated within the clinic in such that way, because definitely very outstanding work over the years to help the clinic grow. We've said it in the past that it's been an ever-changing facility, and well, it has. It's gone through several upgrades, expansions, even just like equipment, getting in new equipment. So wonderful.
And again, it brings up as well, with Arnie, who passed away a little earlier this year, 2022 for the community of Neepawa and the region has been a little tough in terms of there's some very good individuals who passed away this year. One of the most notable ones, I'm going to bring this up, Ivan Trail obviously was a steward of NACTV. And seeing this happen here at the medical clinic got me thinking, next season, when the hockey season is over, hopefully the Yellowhead Center will be able to get its stuff together and get everything organized and get building on the new broadcast booth, the center ice broadcast booth for NACTV. And hopefully the Titans and NACTV, I know they're gung-ho about it. Very much looking forward to getting to work on that. And I do hope that that does become a reality very soon. And when it does, I throw this out here to the community. Hopefully they'll remember all the work and all the time and all the effort Ivan Trail put in there, and maybe give him a ceremonial like the Ivan Trail broadcast booth or something like that. Because the man, when I was first here, Casper, working for the radio station, before I went off to Portage La Prairie and then came back for the Banner and Press, I was in the same building as Ivan Trail, the old resource center in NACTV. I'd have chances to talk to him all the time and just learn a little thing or two about TV. And the things he went out everywhere to get the stuff for NACTV. So hopefully that's something we'll be able to talk about next year. Hopefully, very much so. That's a story I'll be able to write in 2023. But, that's me. I got opinions. I like to share them.
No, I definitely agree. I think that'd be a good way to honor Ivan. I know, I believe he was involved in actually a few different groups, but definitely NACTV. Yep. He was a good lead for the TV station here. So I think he'd be quite happy with something like that. It
might even make more sense almost to put it at the baseball diamond, because he loved baseball. I think he loved baseball just that little bit much more than hockey. But again, one little bit at a time. But again, congratulations to Dr. Eoin. Congratulations, Arnie Susky. Well-deserved indeed. All right, now, from one ceremony to another, Casper. This one was a little more fun because it had slides.
Yes, it did. And if you're perhaps scratching your head being like, what the heck ceremony has slides?
Not
well,
enough.
Not enough. Yes, I agree. Maybe get thrown at some water slides now and then. I think that would spruce things up a bit, make it a little more energizing. But no, this one was a special occasion at the Neepawa Middle School, actually, and a project that's been in the works for some time now. I'm not, I admit, too familiar with the full history myself. I didn't originally cover this story, but happy to pick it up, absolutely. The Neepawa Middle School held a ribbon cutting recently for their new play structure, which is mostly finished now. Everything that has arrived so far has been installed and is actually currently in use, has been in use for a little bit, but they wanted to hold an official celebration just to mark the occasion of all that being installed. And the entire middle school is very excited for this photo op. Everyone piled out there, got in front of the play structure, on the play structure, ready for the photo for that ribbon cutting with members of the Parent Advisory Council, of course, the principal of the school as well, the vice principal, and Brian Headley from the co-op, because co-op was a major supporter in this project, so they were there on the scene as well. And yeah, just incredible. Everyone, as soon as that ribbon was cut, just erupted into cheers. They were so happy.
Well, that's great to hear. And again, it looks tremendous. When I was a kid, mine was old metal and wood. You'd give yourself a concussion during recess during it. You'd walk that off and go back up there. This stuff looks a little bit safer, but still fun. That's the important part.
Oh yes, absolutely. There's I think 3 or 4 different slides on there, and some things you can climb on, and a whole bunch of different stuff. And I'm kind of curious what the last few pieces that need to be installed are going to include, because they did actually receive them earlier the week. I took the photo, and they're just waiting for warmer spring weather to come so that they can install that, as well as a few finishing touches.
That's right. You can find that story on page A11. You can see the picture. It's a sturdy looking thing as well, because you can see it's jam-packed with all the kids on there. So at least you know it's going to hold up for a few years in the very least.
Oh, absolutely. That should endure a lot of wear and tear, I hope, yeah.
All right. We only got a few minutes left, so we're going to cover a few different bases. As usual, a lot of sports going on in and around Neepawa. We have a story on the Titans' recent road trip actually to the Paw. So that opened up the Yellowhead Arena for the Tigers high school team to play a few games. Farmers had a few games. Not going to delve too deep into it. You're going to have to check it out on the sports pages and learn a little bit about that yourself. So always appreciate being able to go out and cover the fun stuff like sports. Although for other people, who might not enjoy sports as much, that might not be fun. So, but I enjoy it, and, I deserve a treat every now and then. So standing around in a very cold arena is a treat for me, I guess. But let's talk about something a little closer to home in terms of the Shop Hometown initiative. If you've been picking up the Neepawa Banner Press the last few weeks, you've seen the full page ad showing all the different locations where the Shop Hometown between the Neepawa Banner and Press and all these local businesses have been. It's a contest you could enter into, and boy, did you ever. So we're very pleased to be able to announce the winners. It's in this week's paper, where you have pictures of the grand prize winner, as well as the second place winner. The third prize winner came in just before our publication deadline, so we're going to have that picture in next week's edition of the Banner and Press. So if you want to see that person, you're going to have to see next week's paper. But don't forget to pick up this one. So very well received. We enjoy doing it each and every year. And again, I'm not going to give it away here. If you want to see who won, you got to pick up a copy of the paper, either at any sort of locations in and around Neepawa, or if you're away from Neepawa, you can find it at mywestman.ca. Once again, that's mywestman.ca. So if you want to find out if you won or not, if you haven't heard already, you're going to have to see the paper and find out. Before we wrap up, we got about 5 minutes left. Let's go over very quickly, Casper, the B and C section. And we got to give a big shout out to Diane Warner. Diane Warner essentially built these pages, and we're very appreciative of that. And we're very appreciative of Helen Drysdale as well. Helen's recipes, which are a staple of the Banner Press for so many years. She came up with so many different interesting Christmas delicacies. You can see the pictures, you can see the recipes in the B and the C section. There's just so many. Let me ask you, Casper, and put you on the spot here. Was there any particular one that jumped out at you as like, oh, that looks like a good one?
Well, I'll be honest, there's quite a few, though I have to admit I'm a sucker for peppermints and minty things. So actually the page I have open right now has a recipe for peppermint cookies, and it looks really tasty. The dough gets some peppermint flavoring in there, but it also has candy cane melted into it. Who wouldn't like that? That's a big winner for me.
You know,
and I'm actually pretty curious about the lemon poppy seed cake too.
You know what? The peppermint cookies was the one I jumped out at me as well, because I don't really have that much of a sweet tooth. Although I rent a house with someone, and this person, she loves to bake, so I'm always ending up bringing in pastries for people here into the office. I barely ever even touch them though, but I keep hearing they're delicious. So, but as well with Helen's recipes, the peppermint cookies just look all right. I like the look of that. Now, but that's not all. You've got the peanut oat bars, Score bar brownies. Oh, I love brownies. Like if I had the choice, brownies is usually where I'll go to. Like I don't have a sweet tooth, but that's the go-to, no doubt, for me.
I definitely don't blame you there. Brownies are so good. And there's a few different things you can do with them too. So if you want to switch it up a bit, you can. And it's always really, really good. My mom has made, on occasion sometimes, brownie with zucchini in it, I think. And I don't know if that's something people usually spring for, but it's actually quite tasty. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually the fudge brownies. I love fudge brownies and that. So she has several different recipes for brownies and for fudge in this year's Christmas section, which is, I think it's going to keep a lot of people busy. We do hear from people who very much appreciate Helen's recipes each and every week, and we do appreciate Helen coming up with these new and interesting and innovative ideas each and every week and each and every year. So wonderful to be able to share that with you. And we want to keep sharing that with you each and every year. So hopefully you're going to be able to pick up a copy of the Banner Press and see for yourself some of the delicacies and some of the information from in and around your community. So we are coming up towards the end right now. Casper, as always, appreciate you taking a few minutes and appreciate you sort of getting out and about and covering all these events during the winter. You don't get as motivated to sort of get away from the office. I know I don't.
Yeah, it's a little harder to get out there into the cold, and I'm sure people also, just as a side note, appreciate knowing that there is fudge in the C-section. Check it out.
Well, and again, we appreciate you for picking up the paper on a regular basis, hopefully reading it. That would be appreciated as well. And as well tuning in to the show right here on NAC TV. So if you have any story suggestions or ideas, you can contact us at news@neepawabanner.com. Anything sports related, always appreciate that as well. You can contact us at sports@neepawabanner.com. I've got some pictures in here from the Neepawa Ballers Basketball League. Was able to cover that. They sent last week the league standings. Weren't able to get it in for this week. You know, hockey sometimes takes over those pages, but we want to cover every event. But I'll be honest with you, I don't want to spend every single night out and about. Sometimes I like to actually have a night or two to myself. So if you're able to send that information in, I'll do my best to make sure it gets on the page. And if you have any news items as well, you can contact us at 476-3401. That's the number you can reach Neepawa Banner Press. Now we're going to sort of, as we said earlier, we're going to coast a little bit. It's going to be a smaller paper next week, and then our year in review. But I'm sure we're still going to have something of interest for you. So thank you very much as always, and I hope you have a good week.